What's good, guys? It's TSG. In today's video, we're going to be talking to one of the nominees for the Ethlizards Council. With me today, I have Sohan. What's going on, my man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Last minute inclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yo, I'm glad that we finally got you on, man, because, yeah, like we know back in the back end, there was a lot of changes around, but I'm glad that we finally got you, like, actually linked up on here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, all right. Let's not waste any time. Let's just jump straight into it. Yeah, I'm really keen to get your perspectives on all of these questions that I have. The first one is going into this new transition of the Ethlizard DAO. There was a proposed structure of a council, and that was a VC role, a GameFi role, a DeFi role, and a couple of whale roles. With that proposed structure, where do you see yourself fitting in there, and why?
I guess I'd probably the closest I'd be to would be the VC role. Pretty much because I've got a fair bit of experience in investing. I sit on the boards of a couple of companies as advisors, but also I've been playing around with seed and pre-seed investments for some time. I guess that's kind of the joy of owning a marketing agency. You kind of get exposed to a lot of great startups and you figure out what's the right play, what's not the right play, by either making mistakes or getting the successes. So I also own a few companies myself, so I've gone through kind of the raise process and had to kind of justify valuations and build roadmaps and talk to investors. So I'd say that's the closest. But I guess secondary to that, I'm a gamer at heart. I've been gaming since I was a kid. I've got a bunch of game clients, GameFi clients as well. So Shrapnel's one of them. We're working with Illuvium as well at the moment. And then in Web2 space, being involved in esports and all of that sort of stuff. So I'd say GameFi secondary, but VC would be the closest to what I would be.
Yeah, awesome, man. It's a good thing to have multiple assets, multiple skills to bring to the table. So that's awesome. All right, this one I'm actually really interested. The next question, I'm really interested to hear what you're going to say, because obviously you've got a lot of experience in this, and I think your perspective is going to be very valuable. So the question I'm going to ask you is, what are the things that you actually look for, or because we know with the Ethlizards, what we're planning on doing is going into pre-seed and seed investments. With those things, what are the factors that you'd be looking at to warrant investing into a project? What are the top things that you'd be looking for in a project to make you want to invest there? And what are some red flags possibly?
So I guess obviously there's obviously the one-on-ones like valuation, product, all that sort of stuff. But at seed and pre-seed, really some of the biggest things I look for would be the founders. So passion and experience, and if no experience, how much research have they done into the product? How far have they looked ahead? The team, so who else is supporting the project itself? Partners is another one. So who else is involved? Who's kind of validating the project? And then one, I guess, that hasn't been really talked about, which I look for just because of my background, is marketing and branding. So how have you positioned your brand? Have you thought about your communications framework? Have you thought about how you're going to talk about your product and create those, I guess, that's probably the best way to put it, the long-term holders or the long-term kind of investors of the brand, and that's something marketing really plays such a big role in. Is retention. So I've seen so many projects that have come out of the gates with a sensational idea, a really good concept. There's some utility there if it's a it's a game investment, for example, but they haven't spent enough time thinking about what's next. How do I create those rabid fans? How do I create that community that makes my brand and my project last through not just the good times, but the tough times? And I guess you can see it now when we're going through a bear market. The brands that haven't really spent enough time building that community and building that emotive connection.
Yeah.
You know, they're the ones that we see suffering. So that's one thing that I would look for, probably a little bit more than anything else outside of the founders is the brand. How much have you thought about what your product means to the people and how you're going to communicate it?
Yeah, that's very interesting because no one else has actually brought up marketing. And again, because you've got that experience, I actually want to ask you, just dive in a bit deeper on that, because I'm no expert on pre-seed and seed. I'll be straight up there. How common is it for a pre-seed or seed investment or project in that stage of their growth? How often is it that they have a well thought out marketing plan or marketing strategy? Is that a common thing to find, or?
The good ones, it is. I wouldn't say it's common. But the really good projects, you know, the ones that last forever and the ones that are really impressive have thought about the brand and what their product means to their consumer, or their community or their investors, and how they're going to continue to communicate it. So, you know, if you look at this space, it's quite a complex space and there's so many different layers to it, right? So even if you look at Illuvium as an example, there's just so many layers of complexity to the actual project. And I guess, you know, sometimes it's very easy as founders to come up with a really great multi-layered concept, but where you kind of fall behind is if you haven't figured out how to communicate that to your community and your investors, and when's the right time to do it. So, you know, back to answer your question, I would say it's almost a 50-50 thing.
Okay.
People nail the brand, but where, you know, I see the biggest gap is what's next. How do you keep that retention? How do you keep your investors engaged? How do you communicate what's next? And that's, for me and some of the investments that I've been in, that's kind of the make or break thing as well.
No, understood. Fair play. All right. Again, so the next question is, again, I'm really excited to hear. Honestly, I'm being excited to have this conversation for a long time. So, the next question is, let's say I'm going to give you a scenario, and let's say that we've made, as a DAO, as council members, we've made a lot of bad decisions, and we are now left with a limited amount of capital, a limited amount of ETH. If that was the scenario, how would you personally, if it was up to you, how would you like to deploy that capital? Would it be in a higher risk play? Would you be slowing it down completely, reassessing? Would you be putting it like what kind of options do you have in your mind if that was a scenario that we were facing?
So I was thinking about this a lot. I'm going to answer this in a few different ways.
Cool.
Number one, I guess I'm going to go back to the marketing thing. If you nail your marketing in a project, that secondary volume is going to continue to grow, right? Because you're going to get that trade component. So that's one side that, you know, I'm already helping you guys do it anyway, is to continue to drive that secondary volume. But if we get into that precarious position, I guess we're in a pretty great space, particularly with the deal flow that you know is potentially going to come through. It is already coming through with the Ethlizards project. That, you know, no investment is probably too small, given the potential multiples. So I wouldn't panic. I would be sticking to our investment strategy, and I would hope our investment strategy would also have a good level of diversification within that mandate. So what I mean by that is, you know, a percentage of high risk, a percentage of medium risk, a percentage of sure things. So to answer your question, I wouldn't make any rash decisions. I have been there before. Actually, a funny story. Been there when I first invested in Ethereum. Actually, Kieran's the one who got me to first invest in Ethereum back in 2016. And both of us, we put everything we had in it, and you know, around that split from ETH to ETC. And you know, we once the market was moving, we made a lot of panic decisions, and you know, learned a lot of lessons from that. So you know, back to answer your question. One, make sure that treasury keeps growing. That's what I'd love to help in. Two, I don't think I can't see us getting into a position where the investment size of the treasury is going to be too small because the upside's so high.
Yeah.
And then 3, I would make sure that we're still having a diversified investment strategy when it comes to how we spread our risk.
Yeah. So double down on the goal, like double down on the strategy, and no need to muck about with it. Fair play.
Look, unless it's wrong, obviously.
Unless it's wrong, unless it's completely broken, all right. So now let's flip the script, right? Let's say now we've made incredible investments, and we are now sitting in. I know there's no such thing as an excess, but for the sake of this discussion, let's say we're sitting on an excess of capital, and there aren't enough good projects to be deploying that capital in. How would you like to, what are your thoughts there? Because we've had ideas of staking, we've had ideas of using it for other cases, maybe expanding into DeFi. What are your thoughts there? And if we did have an excess of capital compared to projects that fit what we're looking at, how would you like to use that capital?
So first of all, to kind of echo you, I don't believe in too much. I don't believe in too much money.
Yeah, of course.
So I think there's always ability to deploy funds. Probably what I would lean to would be diversifying the investment portfolio. So let's look at some other channels. Potentially even look at building how can we kind of take those funds and build value within our own product. That's definitely something to consider. But sitting in the Discord, there's so many brilliant minds in there. Outside of GameFi, I think we would be crazy not to, if we had an excess of funds, to put forward a proposal to actually diversify the portfolio and enter into DeFi or something else.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on, because obviously the main goal is to focus on pre-seed and seed during our growth stage. In a situation like that where we do have an excess of funds, would Series A, Series B be something that would be considered, or are you trying to stay away from those things and stick with the early stage investments?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you'd probably treat it the same way you treat a fund that matures outside of, a small fund. We'll start with seed and pre-seed, and when you get to that fund size, say fund 2 or fund 3, that's got a ton of cash, then there are some really attractive Series A investments that you may have missed out on the start, or you didn't have the volume size to play there. And again, lean back to the community. I think we've got such a group of brilliant minds that you put that forward for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Like me doing these interviews and talking to everyone, I've realized how amazing our community actually is, and how stacked this election is. The nominees is just nuts.
I listened to all of them and I was super impressed.
Yo, it's nuts, man. Yeah, I was like,
I should have bought more lizards.
Yeah, 100%. I feel bad for selling mine now. I'm like, I need to buy more again. All right. So what are your next question, man? What are your thoughts on the team's decision to leave, to allow council members to remain undoxxed if they wish?
I think the great thing about this space is that ability to, to have that choice. I heard something really interesting. Eleanor said, that kind of hybrid doxing where you might dox yourself to some of the founders or some trusted party. I think that's a great concept.
Amazing.
When I invest, I do like to know who's playing with the money. But also, the great thing about this space again is you can probably get to know someone quite easily without knowing who they are. You're another perfect example, right? So, but I do like the hybrid. I like that kind of hybrid doxing concept. I think that's great. But look, I can't see that impacting our mandate. But for me, personal preference is always knowing knowing who I'm in business with. But again, look, that's the space we live in, and it hasn't failed us so far with this project.
Touch wood. Yeah, absolutely.
Touch wood,
All All right, cool, man. So those were pretty much all like the more difficult, serious questions. I've got 2 questions now to end off, just a bit of lighthearted fun. One, as this is not as lighthearted, but the question is, a lot of people want to know how much skin you have in the game. Like how aligned are you really with Ethlizard's DAO to prevent you from being a bad actor per se. So the question is, how many lizards do you actually hold?
I've only got 6.
Only 6.
Only 6. I came in after the mint, so I came in around March when Kieran hit me up and asked for some help with marketing.
Yeah.
You know, so I came, I think when it was like 0.3 or something like that.
That's calm.
So still good. And I wish I had more. I probably will get some more. But yeah, I've got 6 at the moment.
Yeah. Awesome. Yo, I love that you say only 6 because you know that's a massive. I'm pretty sure you're in like the top percentage still, right? Like that's huge. All right, and the last one, man. Your favorite Ethlizard trait. What's the one that you reckon is the dopest?
Ooh,
the actual thing, the hands going.
I'd say it's the bone horn. The screw bone horn.
Yeah.
Love that lizard, followed by red eyes.
Yeah.
And I've got this secret obsession with the wizard hat, but I haven't been able to get one. Right. So
I mean, we could do a trade, man. I've got a few. I don't mind trading with you. I don't mind at all.
Let's do it. All right, let's have a chat. Done.
Yeah, 100%. All right, cool. Yo, so man, Sohan, thank you so much for coming on, man. Like I said, it was mad difficult. I know you've got a busy calendar to actually make this happen. So I appreciate the fact that you took the time out to come on. What's the best way for people to hit you up? Is it Twitter, Discord? What's the best way to get in touch?
Hit me up on Twitter. I'd say that's probably the easiest one, but I'm always available on Discord as well. But yeah, Twitter is probably the easiest way to get me.
Awesome. And is there anything you want to kind of leave us with before we call it an end?
No, look, I'm excited I'm really excited for the next steps ahead. I guess I'm feeling very confident about where the investment side of the business is going. I can't wait to see where the brand side of the business is going to take us as well. So I'm working on some pretty cool shit with Dupree at the moment and the crew. So stand by. I know it's we've been talking about it, but there's some fun stuff coming. I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing where the community goes outside of the investment side.
Yeah, awesome, man. Again, so thank you so much again for coming on, and for everyone that's watching. Thank you guys for watching. I have a feeling this is going to be the last video I do because elections have started. So if you haven't voted yet, or you have voted and you want to change your vote, just watch any of the videos that I've put up in this playlist. And yeah, just get educated on each of the nominees and just make your choice. But like I said, both of us have said it's a stacked card. Like everyone is so well. It's just insane. Just have a look in and make your decision. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this type of content, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.